Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on October 30th, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar. So not a ton of important news today. Two things we do need to look at. First was the Brexit vote here. So UK Parliament has actually approved the election on December the 12th. So that was positive for British pound. But then we do have our US-China, the agreement. There were rumors that the agreement would get signed in the coming up weeks here when US and China both meet in Chile. However, looks like they are running into some problems, and that's bad news for the stock market. So we did see stock markets drop as a result of that. So as the new developments come into on that side, we do need to pay attention to that. Now, tomorrow, October 30th, is a big day. We have tons of important news to keep in mind. First of all, we have ADP non-farm employment numbers for the US, and these are precursors to our non-farm employment numbers, so this is important. We also have quarterly GDP data coming up. Again, that is important. And usually has an impact on the US dollar. We also have Bank of Canada monetary policy statement coming up. At this point, Canada is not expected to make any changes to interest rates. However, their commentary will be very important if they are bullish on the economy. So if they talk about how economy is stable and they're looking for growth in the economy over next year, that will be positive for Canadian dollar. But if they express concerns, whether that's for US and China trade relations or overall markets, that could be bad for Canadian dollar. So we have to pay attention to the commentary, not so much to the overnight rate. We're not expecting an interest rate cut at this point. Now, if there is a surprise interest rate cut, which Bank of Canada or generally the central banks don't do, they like to give warning before they cut rates, then that would be negative for Canadian dollar. Or if they talk about future interest rate cuts or potential of future interest rate cuts, that would be negative for Canadian dollar as well. And we could see dollar CAD go up as a result. So we just need to pay attention to what the monetary policy statement says. We also have FOMC statement, which is our Fed. Now, we are expecting an interest rate cut from 2% to 1.75%. So Fed has already basically said they are likely to do 2 interest rate cuts this year. We already saw 1 cut, so we are expecting another interest rate cut at this point. So at this point, a lot of that is priced in already because US dollar has been weaker as a result of that. However, if the interest rate cut is bullish, and by that what I mean is if they cut the interest rates, but they talk about stabilizing after that or stabilizing the monetary policy after that, and they don't talk about future interest rate cuts, but instead they talk about how they're going to wait and watch, that could be positive for the US dollar. Generally, interest rate cuts are negative for the currency, but sometimes the central banks will phrase it in a way where we are cutting rates this time, but that's it for now for the foreseeable future. That tends to be a more of a bullish statement coming out of the central bank, and as a result, we can see the currency go up. So we need to just pay attention to that. There's also the press conference after. Usually we see we'll see that prices will move based on that FOMC statement, and then we see another move based on the press conference. So just keep that in mind. And in the evening session here, we have a business confidence number out of New Zealand. If the numbers are less than the previous numbers here, that will be negative for New Zealand dollar. And we also have building approvals out of Australia. Again, if there are less than expectations, that will be negative for Australia. Then we have PMI numbers out of China. So PMI numbers are precursors to retail sales. So these are leading indicators. And if these numbers are negative, we generally tend to see negative impact on Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar as well, because both of those countries are closely tied to or have an export relationship with China. So when Chinese numbers come out negative, Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar tend to drop as well. And we have a Bank of Japan monetary policy statement as well. So Bank of Japan has not really done a ton at this point, but now that the Fed is cutting rates, Bank of Japan could start easing the monetary policy as well. We're not expecting an interest rate cut because they're already in the negative, but they could take other measures to bring more liquidity into the market. So if they start to do more easing, that would be negative for Japanese yen, which means all the yen crosses could go up. So tomorrow, a big day. Expect a lot of volatility in the market because we have 3 central banks as well as a ton of other data. So just be careful trading tomorrow. Expect volatility in the market. All right, so let's go on to our charts now. In terms of our euro dollar here, we see that the price went up. We could not price could not break below the support, so it has gone up. But this is the range that price has been trading over the last 3 days here. We do have a bullish candle close here, but again, we are into resistance. So at this point, what I'm looking for is the reaction at this resistance. If price stays below this number, then I'm looking for price to come back towards the bottom of this range and just stay range bound ahead of the FOMC statement. Now, it is a bullish candle close, it's a bullish pin bar, so if it breaks through the resistance, then we're looking for price to go to the next level, which is 1.1165. So at this point, bias is bullish, but with caution. So we have to see how price reacts at the high of today, because this is an important support resistance level coming from all the way from April of this year. And if price doesn't break through this, we could see it drop back into the range towards the bottom of the range. However, on the other hand, if it does go through, then we're looking for price to continue higher into the next target, which is 1.1165. But based on the technicals alone here, bias is bullish for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, this one has been trading in the range for the last 4 days now. We have an indecision candle here. We have pins on both sides and a small candle body. So this is our neutral candle. So bias is neutral. What I'm looking for at this point is potentially a retest of 1.2900, and if price stays below that, I will look for price to drop towards the bottom of this range, which is 1.2780. So at this point, bias is neutral for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, this one has been bullish. Yesterday we were looking for a move higher, so we got that. And today we have already had a pullback, and now I'm looking for price to go higher towards 0.6880. So towards the top of this range here. Now it can go higher as well towards 0.6900. So bias is bullish and looking for price to basically go higher here. So bullish bias for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar here, this one is neutral here. So yesterday we had a neutral candle. Today we saw a move up, but then price has declined from there. So bias here is neutral. There isn't a ton of bullishness here. A lot of the move higher is more because of US dollar weakness as opposed to New Zealand dollar being very strong. So at this point, I would look for a retest of today's high and see how price reacts there. If price stays below the high, which is at 0.6380, then I will look for a move lower towards 0.6330, which is basically the bottom of this range that it's been trading in. On the other hand, though, once it passes through the high, this becomes bullish as well, and then we're looking for a move higher towards 0.6420 and likely towards 0.6450. So at this point, it's neutral, but if it breaks today's high, then this will become bullish and we'll be looking for a move higher. So neutral buys for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, this one is looking bullish. We have a big move higher here. A lot of that also has to do with our Bank of Canada monetary policy coming here, but this is a bullish engulfing candle. So price was compressing, but it wasn't able to break through the support, so it moved higher. So this is a bullish candle, so bias is bullish, but as we can see, price is also into resistance. So if it doesn't go through 1.3100, this one could come back into the range as well. So just be careful with that. But for now, bullish bias, and we're looking at 1.3120 for dollar CAD. Let's take a look at our commodities here, starting off with silver. So here bias is bearish. So price dropped here, but then there's a pin in the bottom which shows rejection. However, with the new developments here, rumors saying that US and China may not sign the first agreement like they were expecting to, should something happen, we get more negative news in that we could see this one go higher. But for now, bias is bearish, and I'm looking for price to drop towards 17.45, and only if it goes through, we can see it go lower. But if we start getting negative geopolitical news, this could turn around. And also, we need to pay attention to what the Fed says. And if there are comments that are positive for the equity markets, then we're likely to see silver drop and vice versa. So tomorrow, expect volatility in the markets and just be prepared for volatile moves. For now, bias is bearish, and 17.45 is the first target. Gold here, gold is bearish. Yesterday we were looking for a drop. We got that. And now price is close to our support here. As we can see, just around this level, price has reacted previously. It wasn't able to break it, went higher, and then tried to drop through and then came back. So price has reacted several times at this level. So right now, bias is bearish, but I would say with caution here. So if price does not drop through the support level, this one could go back up again. So just be mindful of that. But bias is bearish. What we need to see for the bearishness to hold is for price to drop below that support level, hold, and continue lower. Unless it does that, this one may not work. So for now, bias is bearish with caution, and the target is 1458. Oil here, oil as well, we saw a drop and then price moved back up. So at this point, bias is bearish, but again, with caution, we need to see how price reacts at this 54.80 level. If it doesn't hold below, this one could go back up. So, but bearish bias for oil, but with caution, first target is 54.80 and then 54. Copper here, copper is right into our resistance for the last 3 days. It's been trying to go through the resistance, hasn't managed to do so. So if it doesn't go through 2.65, we could see price drop. So just be careful with that. So for now, bias is bullish, but if it doesn't break through today's high, chances are this will drop. So watch out for that. Next target to the downside would be 2.60. But if it goes through, we're looking at 2.66. So for now, bullish, but with caution. Bitcoin here, yesterday we had talked about a drop. We got this drop, and now price is into the support level like we talked about yesterday, and there is a pin to the downside. So what I will look for is a retest, and if it doesn't go through, I will look for price to continue higher here. As long as price stays above 9080, we're looking for Bitcoin to move higher here. So bias here is bullish, looking for a retest and then a continuation higher for Bitcoin. S&P 500, we have a neutral candle close here. There are some comments that came out of US and China, negotiations that were not quite so positive. So we have seen a price drop a bit. So I would look for a price to drop towards 3020, and that would be the deciding factor. If it holds above that level, we could still see it continuing higher. We also have Fed statement tomorrow. If the statement is bullish, if they cut rates, but the statement is comments are bullish, this one could drop. So just be careful with that one. We are expecting an interest rate cut, which is usually good for the equity markets. However, a lot of that has been priced in. So if it's bullish, then this one could go higher. For now, looking for a drop towards 3020. Next one here, NASDAQ. And this one is looking bearish. Price went into resistance, couldn't go through. So we got a drop. But just be mindful that we are into support as well. So if it doesn't go through 80.30, this one could go higher. So just be careful. The bias is bearish. Next target is 79.70. Next one here, looking at Dow Jones, we have a neutral candle close. Yesterday, price could not go through the high. So I'm looking for this one to drop here. The target is 2700, so 27,000. So bias here is neutral and looking for a drop for Dow Jones. DAX here, this one hasn't really done anything. Price is still holding above the support level. So we'll have to see how price reacts at this level. If it holds above 12,800, this one could still go higher. But if the other indices drop, this one is likely to drop as well. So right now, the bias is neutral for DAX. Footsie here, Footsie still trading in a range here. We see that price wasn't able to go through the resistance and now it's back into this range. So I will look for a drop towards the bottom of the range here towards 72.50. So bias is neutral to bearish here and looking for a drop. Last but not least here, Nikkei here. Nikkei, we have a bearish candle close, so I will look for a drop towards 23,000 or 22,700 here. So bias is bearish for Nikkei. And that's it for now. You guys have a great trading day. Be careful with the volatility tomorrow, as we have tons of data and our central bank statements coming out. That's it for today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.